Kevin, Liz, Patrick. Liz and Patrick have already introduced themselves. So, Patrick, if you just want to drop your name, how you heard about this, pronouns, and just kind of like a quick brief of like what is the essence of Kevin.
My turn? Ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, sorry. So first of all, I want to say thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I've been playing. I'm probably one of the older folks you'll meet around here, along with my little crew of miscreants, Tanith and Wu Tang and all those guys from the Greyhawk channel. No, I've been playing D&D since first edition, actually. I've had the expert and the basic books from like 1979 or whatever it was, 81 maybe. But kind of got away from it. Went to I had a career coaching volleyball in collegiately for about 15 seasons. Also had a law enforcement career. I was a deputy sheriff for Los Angeles County, and before that, Orange County. But quite frankly, don't let that scare you, because I'm actually one of the people that treated others how they treated me, with absolute respect. I was one of the weird ones because, again, like I said, to me, it's just how you treat people is how you get treated in return. So that's all I see. That's all that comes at me. So I just I hurt myself about 2 years ago. I'm chasing some dude. Blew out my calf muscle, so now I'm a little fatter, a little chubbier. I haven't been able to work out in a while, but no. So I don't know if you guys have seen, but I've gotten back into the D&D scene. I don't know if you've seen my studio. I built a D&D studio, and the videos are on my Twitter. And so actually now I'm a esports reporter. My work can be seen on ESPN and Deserto and just different things. So basically I travel the world chasing 18-year-olds that would make way more money than me. Yeah, but I mean, really, that's about it. I would love to take questions if you have them. If you have anything you'd like to know about me, I'd love to tell you. I'm an open book. I truly am. The questions I get are, what shampoo do I use? And, and it's it's a 3-in-1. So there you go. But yeah, no, I would love to, if you guys have any questions for me. I'm just excited to be here. And like I said, I think D&D is something that, and tabletop role-playing games and video games in general transcend everything. It just brings people together of a group where we're just all having a good time, regardless of where we come from and who we are and all those things, and we revel in it together. So that's kind of what it's about for me.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So here I am. Do you have any questions?
I just wanted to extend the same condolence I'm offering to everyone in that you said you're from LA, so you're on the same time area as me and probably not too far from where I am. So, I realize it's quite early, at least for you and me. It's how time sessions worked out, and it's how it all worked out, but at least everyone's here. And if I could offer you all coffee and donuts, I absolutely would.
No, yeah, it is a little early, but you know what? Quite worth it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite lucky to score the morning block with the Greyhawk channel, in that they were like, nobody else wants it. Do you want it? Sure. High D&D account with 15 followers. The only reason, by the way, I haven't gotten that far is just that I'm very new. I'm very new at this. I have the skills to pay the bills. Don't worry. I've been DMing a long time, especially for someone who's 23, Kevin. So it's kind of funny that you mentioned the old guard stuff, because how I got into it. Here, let me grab my coffee. By the way, Kevin, this coffee expired a month ago, so
If you fall over, we will send help.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's fun that you mentioned that you're part of the old guard because my father was part of the old guard, and then when he went his separate ways, he left all his books and dice and stuff here, and I sort of stumbled across it. And so I've been playing second edition, and I started that in 2009, so I'm a little bit behind the curve, sort of, as it were, for second edition. And so, I played third and fourth, and now I'm on fifth. And it's a very weird perspective because I'm very young, but I definitely sympathize and understand the lore of older editions much more than I do the younger editions. So I'm going to warn you preemptively that while the Greyhawk channel asked me to put the setting in Greyhawk, I am going to see how far I can push my luck with that by immediately trying to wiggle in Planescape or Spelljammer or something that'll let us sort of transcend, just simply being on Greyhawk. Because I've run Greyhawk before. I don't want to do that again. I mean, I love Greyhawk. It's just not again.
Yeah, no. I'm just here to have a great time, and any of those things work for me. You know what I mean? Hey, and if the world becomes bizarro crazy, we'll adapt and we'll see what happens.
Part of the fun of D&D.
Exactly. No, it's all those things.
Once we'll be doing the sessions properly, I'll be using a different computer.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to use this one for the initials thing because it puts a face to my name, and it's kind of alienating not to even know the face of your DM. I think personally, I don't want to be a faceless weird robot thing. But actually, I can just show you, folks. Is right over there is the computer I will be using for our sessions. The reason I'm not using it now is, aforementioned. And so with that, my connection should be a lot more stable come time.
Sure.
So I sort of, the whole reason for that tangent is just that it dropped me for a sec and I didn't hear the last little bit of what you said, Kevin.
Oh, I think I left off on just that. I think that all those things sound fine.
Okay.
A zero problem with it. I think it's going to be fun, and if you wanted to take us to many different exciting places, then that's how it's going to be. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you are running Drew, yes?
Yes, and so just so you guys know, and so if my voice cracks a little bit, I will apologize. Drew is a cleric named after my best friend who passed away 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
Yeah. That one was probably the hardest passing I've ever felt. Drew was my assistant coach for about 11 seasons. And so we did everything together. So I have named this character after him.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So with that touching memoriam, I was reading a little bit about your character and all that, and it looks like Drew is a very lawful boy, which is a very fun mesh, I think, for the rest of the party. It's especially interesting, too, because you and Patrick both draw your power from divine sources, but your actual alignments could not be more different, honestly, looking at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really, yeah. No, that juxtaposition of two people drawing divine energy from maybe even opposing alignments could have a lot of fun role play involved there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so look, so Drew, he's a warrior priest. He's been in the battlefields of Oerth, maybe even, been in a couple of full-scale battles and wars that have happened, even at first level. Maybe, he was, I don't know what the equivalent of an altar boy would be during the first one, but he was probably a squire of some sort, maybe, or maybe was helping, one of the other warrior priests during these battles. But he's definitely kind of a cantankerous kind of, I wouldn't say condescending, I would say that he just wants to see the glory of Cuthbert be spread upon Oerth. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cuthbert, of course, being a very stuffy god.
Right. What are the sayings? Something about always about being thick-skulled and using a billet to change your mind.
Yeah, so Liz, Patrick, could you give Kevin a little briefer on yours? And then we can start to set up like relations, how your characters know each other, why we're going to have party cohesion, things like that.
Yeah. So I play Rayrel, the Wood Elf Ranger. She's pretty long-lived. I don't know her exact age. I haven't figured that out yet, but she's been around for a while. She spends most of her time wandering the wilderness, the woods, surrounding Greyhawk in the area, and occasionally goes into town for supplies and more pleasure, either ale or company. In recent years, said company led to the birth of her daughter, and she hasn't seen her in a while. Kind of just fucked off to the woods for a bit.
So one of your hooks is like we can even initially set up like why has Rayrel returned to town? What brought her back?
Yeah.
And I think honestly the initial plot hook is going to be what may be bringing her back. I don't want to railroad, but
Yeah.
like the initial thing I'm going to throw at is like I'm going to start the entire campaign with a world-shaking event.
Sounds
So
fair.
basically I want to start the whole campaign with what is essentially like, sages and all that know when meteors come and things like that, and just a completely unscheduled, unexpected meteor streaking like blue and green fire crashes into the desert. Obviously with medieval folk like this, it shocks them. There's talk of, a demon lord. There's talk of, a next coming of Bahamut. Even though I don't think Bahamut's in this session or setting, I'll have to check. But yeah, there's going to be like this terrifying meteor that crashes to Earth, and everyone wants to know what it is and what's about with it, and just like want information on it. And so, everyone's going to be, trying to figure out how to get to it.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Patrick, I cut you off there.
No, not a problem.
Tell us about your boy Soren.
Right. So Soren is a male human. He's is it Rennie? It's I think I told the others I'm new to Greyhawk, so if I mispronounce anything or anything like that, just let me.
That's okay. I personally don't give a crap about lore, so I'm not gonna police nothing on that.
Got it. So he's in his lower 20s. He's been spending most of his life working with his family, who operates Mobile Barge Tavern. They also do some light transportation of goods and services that are not always on the legal end of things. So some light smuggling that he was happy to engage in for a long time, and then there was an incident that he wasn't. He did not view favorably about a year ago, and so he left his family's at that point and has just kind of been working where he can, on any other ships or on docks, anything like that. He's also kind of touching on the divine aspect we talked about before. He's during an episode of drinking that he doesn't entirely remember, woke up afterwards with the blessing of, I think it's Aladamara. Again, sorry about pronunciations, but so woke up with a few just, simple gifts and stuff after that. And now he kind of keeps finding himself in situations when he's out celebrating in revelry where he kind of wakes up and seems to be pushed into new situations that, maybe it's his God using those episodes to kind of guide him where he needs to be, but it's not really choices he's making himself. So.
Okay.
Oh, okay, cool. So one thing, so I've played other systems aside from D&D, and one of my favorite was one called Monster of the Week. That it was actually, I saw it used on the Adventure Zone Amnesty book, and I was like, oh, I really want to learn about that system. And one of the very fun things that Monster of the Week does that I think a lot of role-playing systems could come to adapt is it has this system for before campaigns even start called bonds, essentially. And there's either a table or you pick one on how each character kind of knows each other, and sort of it gives a greater sense of party cohesion going forward. And so I've kind of taken that and session zeros and all that are all about building party cohesion as it is, but I've kind of taken that running, and I always sort of like to start my parties off at least vaguely knowing each other. And so, you have the basic info for each of your fellow man's characters. And so I'd just like to take a minute to sort of workshop, like, how do we all know each other? What sort of, do we all know each other as a group? Is it all just loose connections? Like, what's going on with it? So I'm going to do it sort of down the line of how it looks in the participants chat for me. So I'm going to ask Kevin first, how do you know Rayrel? And Liz, how do you know Kevin? Or Liz, how does Rayrel know Drew, and how does Drew know Rayrel? That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
Have some initial thoughts, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you guys can see that Drew is a military man. And so perhaps there was some conflict that Rayrel may have been or may not have been a part of, where maybe she either helped us or we helped her, or maybe we fought together. Even not in the same kind of not in the same way. Maybe she decided, and you are a ranger, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so rangers, they are usually fairly solo type creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And are you playing like a typical ranger with a bow or a crossbow?
I've got a longbow, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, there could have been a time where we crossed paths, where we were fighting together in some capacity. Or, we met each other at a tavern after, in celebration of a victory. But something along those lines I was thinking, but obviously I'm way open to other things.
I like the tavern idea. because she likes to hang out in taverns and inns when she's in town. She likes a good drink and have a good time on occasion.
Yeah. No. So yeah. What if? I mean, I'm kind of thinking you're kind of a Charlie Badass. Like you're gonna be, dealing damage with that bow, and maybe I thought you might have your secrecy. Like maybe I thought we fought together, but you've never confirmed nor denied it.
This sounds like Rayrell, yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just kind of like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Like, I've lived a long time. I've seen a lot of faces.
Yeah.
Can't keep them all straight.
Like maybe I think maybe you saved my life once. Maybe you put an arrow in somebody that was at my back, and I looked and I think it was you. Or, I mean, just, something involving. Because, I mean, that's where you were going to see Drew was on a battlefield somewhere or in a tavern celebrating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And so if we flesh that out, just as, I mean, quite honestly, it could all boil down to we saw you in a tavern. I saw, after a battle that was won, you ended up in the same tavern getting your drink on.
Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
And somehow I've now separated from the military and have been charged with spreading the gospel of Cuthbert and, finding my way in the world. And I don't know if you have seen, gosh, there was this old TV show called Kung Fu. You guys ever heard of that?
I have not heard of that one.
All right. Well, basically, this Grand Master left the temple to go travel the world to become more experienced and see what other cultures are doing and, become more worldly. And maybe that's what Drew has been separated from the army by his commanders, by the priesthood, by the Cuthberts, so to speak. And so he's on his quest to become, more worldly and spread the word. And so that would be the reason why he is now free to travel. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
he has been separated, honestly, from the army, and somehow we met in a tavern. And maybe you think of him as like a puppy. So you know what I mean? Like, oh God, this guy needs a lot of help. Because you are of age and
yeah,
more worldly than he is at the ripe age of human 24.
Oh yeah, you guys are babies compared to Rayrell.
Yeah. I'm like, we're like puppies. We're dogs. It's like in a blink of an eye for you.
Yeah.
So I don't know, something along those lines. If that's something we want to work on.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I mean, so I was reading all the backstories, and it immediately sort of dawned on me that both Drew and Soren are very young boys, very strong-headed, and then like Liz is already a parent to begin with, and so she's just gonna see these two very stupid young men and be like, "Oh no." Oh no, this is my situation now, isn't it?
This is what I ran away from. Holy fuck.
I really like that idea where you kind of just are like, oh God.
Literally the teen mom.
Yes, the teen mom, and giving us a slap with a dagger in the back of the head once in a while. Just teaching us the ways of the world.
I mean, it's very elven to be completely honest with it. So,
well, I feel like Drew and Soren are on such opposite ends of the child that needs your help, like spectrum. Like one who's been very regimented for so long, and one that just has done whatever he wants for so long.
Which is, I think that dynamic could play out very well
Oh,
on
yeah.
stream in terms of, I mean, Drew's going to try to convert you to the light, my friend. You know, in a absolute, you know, respectful kind of polite way, and you'll probably get annoyed with it, and then you'll just tell him to go away. I mean, it could be a lot of fun.
So what I have here for your bonds are basically one-time battle buddies. Rayrel is loath to admit it, though, and they have partied together once after an especially inspiring victory. Fair enough?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, and that would be the only time you've ever seen Drew partake of alcohol was on the, you know, the real big deal battle that was he was in.
Okay.
So now, it's a bit Drew-centric right now, but Drew / Kevin / Kevin Drew. How does Drew and Soren know each other, Patrick? / Kevin / Drew / Soren.
I like Patrick's story. What if he were to have, you know, we may not have liked it, but what if Soren had smuggled some goods to us that turned the tide of the battle?
I mean, I think that's totally on point for Soren too. It's he was always fine. He was fine with the smuggling for a long time, like just, you know, weapons to troops or food to people like that. Yeah, that was not something he batted an eye at, you know. And it's, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, and again, these are just ideas off the top of my brain. If it's something that's not making sense, you know, sometimes my wife tells me I don't make a whole lot of sense. So go ahead and, you know, let me know what you think. But yeah, I mean, that was just my first thought was during the battle, you really, I mean, we had somebody that knew how to use a bow that really helped us, you know, picking off folks, and somebody that got us the equipment, even though we're probably loath to admit it. Or there could be, you know, something even greater between you and the ranger. What's your name, the ranger's name again? I'm sorry.
The ranger's name is Rayrel.
Rayrel, got it. I'm writing that down. I won't miss it again. All right, cool.
I think with Soren too, it's the one, it's, you know, even if it was, you know, a few of us likely with an operation smuggling you things, it's the thing that might have stood out about Soren is just that, you know, since I'm like just mechanic wise, I'm a divine soul sorcerer. So it's, I think just you might have seen him doing what he considers little tricks or anything like that, but what you would recognize more as like divine magic without, and coming from somebody that's clearly not adorned like a priest or seems outwardly religious or anything like that. So that's something that could have caught your eye about him too.
That's cool in itself. You'd want to be studying that probably.
So which of these threads should we follow? Or should we do both of them? The Soren smuggled things to the battle angle, or the Drew saw Soren doing some really cool tricks angle? And this is not a one or the other. We can very much have both.
Yeah, I'll defer. I'll defer to Soren and see how he'd like to play it.
I think maybe the initial smuggling is how we first made contact, but then I think maybe seeing that use of divine magic might have been something that might be a thread that then we pull at to see kind of how you decided to like further the contact and investigate it, maybe.
That's cool. Yeah.
Which I feel like kind of any questioning on that, like if you approach Soren to discuss it, I feel like would be and I don't want to put words in your mouth. I feel like it might actually frustrate somebody like Drew from what you've told us, because Soren's, in terms of, you know, any religious aspect, it's none of his abilities come from, you know, piety or reflection or any kind of, you know, higher level thinking or anything like that. It's in his case, it's, he feels like there was this God that just kind of liked what he did and decided to, is now trying to influence his life a little bit more, kind of taking a firmer hand in steering things. But it's really a God that I didn't show any interest in until this all started happening. So it's almost like, as opposed to something that's required deep spiritual training and reflection and thought, it's just like, here's some cool toys.
I think that's great. No, I think your guys' characters make for a lot of, again, fun role playing, a lot of fun connections. So I think it's great.
So what I have is Soren smuggled some utilities to Drew, or just Drew's unit, during the battle that we're calling it. During this interaction, Soren let slip some divine magic. Drew is now very interested in his going-ons.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I like it.
Okay, so now, Soren, how does Rayrel know Soren, and how does Soren know Rayrel, and all that, vice versa?
Well, if Soren did a bit of smuggling and worked for taverns, I'm pretty sure Rayrel would have a proxy knowledge of him to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And that was, I mean, the whole tavern that he worked on growing up, like, there was the whole front. It was just all a front for the smuggling, really.
Yeah.
Now, clear up something for me with Soren's tavern history.
Sure.
So it was on a boat, right? It was a boat restaurant type ordeal, yes?
Yes. I don't know. It's, again, I know that it not like chronologically fitting, but in at least in theme or atmosphere, I'm kind of picturing like the old like steamboat, or not steamboat, the river paddle boat, like casinos and bars and stuff like that.
Hey,
oh, yeah.
I completely love a little bit of time anachronism. One of my favorite things I've ever thrown into a session was an air genie who piloted a casino fortress through the plane of air. So, like, I am completely fine with being a little anachronistic. So that is all good. So carry on, Liz, Patrick. I'm very interested in this workshopping.
Okay, so yeah, I pretty much have, like, she probably knows of Soren's smuggling, maybe might have helped out at one point in exchange for, like, coin or room or ale.
I was gonna say, maybe, is there any kind of like spirits or anything like that maybe if we've done work with Rayrel before and like kind of know her preferences, that we might start bringing things with us from further away that it's harder for her to get, kind of like some spirits or ale that are a little bit more exotic that we know she's developed a taste for, type thing.
Yeah.
And kind of built like a little regular relationship with her.
Yeah.
I mean, so forgive me for, interjecting and bullying and all that.
Go ahead.
But one thing while you're saying that kind of came to mind is Rayrel spends half, or maybe like a split of her time deep in the woods, and the other split of her time in a bustling city of Greyhawk. So at some point, she has to go to and from those locations, right? Like, why not have, this boat be what she regularly used as her means to and from? And, like, she's old enough to remember the shipping line gets started and, like, knew Soren's great grandpa or something, and like maybe even realize that this divine magic thing isn't so like out of place with Soren's family history and might know something, but doesn't want to say anything. And I'm not pushing anything. This is just a fun idea that popped into my head while I was hearing this.
No, I like that.
That sounds cool. Yeah, like Ray Rel could be like a legitimately like an old family friend.
Mhm.
Like she's been around for a couple generations, and just like, oh yeah, this What Elf just shows up every couple years. She helps us out. We give her booze.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just with Soren's mentality too. Like, it would never even cross my mind that, like, oh yeah, she's just seen like a ton of us now. I'm just the new one to her.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, that's how they did it in Lord of the Rings, is like, you know, to elves, humans were basically just reflections of their grandpa or like grandma to them. And so, like, to them, it was just sort of every 50 years, this human sort of takes on a new sort of face, but is essentially still the same human with some new quirks switched around.
Like we're generation.
Mhm. Okay, so let's see. So Soren worked on boat that got Rayrel to and from woods. Rayrel has been using this boat line since its construction and recognizes the strange traits that Soren is now exhibiting, kind of thing. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Anything I missed or need to be added?
Nope.
No?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, so what, when they interact, like, what does Drew and Rayrel think of each other? Like, what are your feelings towards this other sentient being? Like, are you a rival of them? Are you in awe of them? Et cetera, et cetera.
I think just because of both Drew and Soren's age, she's just like, these dumb kids, what the fuck? Like, she's I don't know, like, maybe she's just concerned. They both seem pretty lost.
Sure, absolutely. That makes. I mean, it just makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're at that age and you've seen, just about everything that you can see on how petty humans are. I think that Drew really does kind of look up to Rayrel as an authority on living and
Yeah.
things of that nature. However, he's a stickler for rules. He's a stickler for laws. He's a stickler for following. So there is a dichotomy there where it's, while there is a lot of respect for, being wise and I guess street wise, street smart and all those things,
Yeah.
he still struggles with, following the law and following the rules, and while it bothers him, like if breaking the law and things like that, that's obviously not a deal breaker for him, because maybe he feels like they need some religion in their life or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so I think, what is Rayrel and Soren's sort of working relationship? Because of all of us, it seems like they might know each other the best to start with. Maybe? I don't know.
I think at the very least, Soren will probably know she has a kid.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe she even brought her child on the boat line once. Just like once.
Yeah, like when she was a baby or something. Like, hey, we're gonna go out to the woods for a bit. Gonna bring this small baby with me.
I will show child where mommy works.
Exactly. It's bring your daughter to work day.
See, the owl bear even brought its cubs. Everyone.
But they didn't make it.
And it's I think what Soren sees with Rayrell too, in terms of like what he sees is, I think he's got a lot of respect for her almost on a different axis of, this is someone who seems like a badass and who just, at least from his perspective, knows what she wants in life in terms of what she enjoys doing in the city and what she enjoys doing in the woods, and just does what makes her happy type thing, and doesn't kind of care about doesn't care about kind of conventions or rules. She knows what she wants and she does it, at least from.
That is very accurate. That's very accurate.
And I think that's something that, you know, he looks up to and he has a lot of respect for.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Drew, Soren, what are your opinions of each other?
Oh, I think Soren, I need to hold Soren's hand and bring him back to the path of righteousness.
I think Soren is happy to indulge in the relationship, because Soren is a very much, like, enabler's not the right word for it, but he's the friend that's not trying to get everybody like shit-faced and in trouble when they're together and drinking. He's more like, oh, just trying to get everybody to, you know, get a little bit less uptight, loosen their hair a bit. So he's very much going to be, you know, trying to encourage Drew to enjoy life a little bit more.
I totally see that happening, you know, during our interactions.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, we've got the super, you know, I guess very street smart, worldly elf that is going to see some of the ideas that Drew thinks are righteous and just shake her head at him, you know, going, "You dumb kid.
Yeah.
It's not how the world works, bud." And, you know, because I'm on a journey. I'm still, you know, fairly young, trying to, you know, learn about the world. And I think it should be this way because those are the way that my scriptures say it should be.
Yeah.
You know, yet we're going to come across situations that, you know, my key may not be for the lock we need to get through. And so we may need to do some things that may not, you know, be in the wheelhouse of Drew's definition of the world. And I think that's, you know, Soren's going to be a big part of that. Rayrell's going to be a big part of that. So, I mean, I'm loving the dynamic of where this is going to go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a very accidentally perfect party dynamic.
I became the team mom without meaning to become the team mom.
You gotta make us a banner with our names on it.
Now, Soren, I know you are prone to getting things lost, so I've sort of taken to carving your name into your staff, and here's a little safety clip so you can leave it on your belt when you aren't fighting anymore.
My
Can
arcane
you stop
focus,
losing your mittens every other day?
that's what I was gonna say. My arcane focus is a little crystal that, like, you just tied to my hand like a mitten so it doesn't go.
Your great uncle did the same thing. Now trust me. So all three of you are Greyhawk or Greyhawky adjacent, yes?
Yes.
So sort of pivotal to all three of your backstories to some extent is this sort of quote-unquote battle that we're talking about. So let's sort of just sort of flesh that out just a tiny bit, just so we know, like, who were the two sides and, what it was over, just so that we can have that to work with as well for backstory fluff.
Bring up the map of Greyhawk here.
Hmm. I mean, I shit on the fact that I'm not a super huge fan of Greyhawk. I still know all the lore, so I have some ideas, but I don't want to, sort of railroad anything.
No.
So, let's ask this question: was it against another kingdom, fiefdom, or was it against a large banner group of monster folk?
Ooh. So what? Just here's what I'm thinking. Just again, I'm thinking that in the city of Greyhawk itself, the free city of Greyhawk, there is a very large cathedral to St. Cuthbert in a very in the wealthiest part of the city. What I'm thinking was that Greyhawk was short-handed for whatever reason in terms of manpower, and we have a mutual aid pact between the Cuthbert army, kind of like the Templars, so to speak.
The Cuthbert cloth.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. And that they kind of enacted that pact because they were short men, and that we fought side by side with the short-handed army of Greyhawk to go handle something. Now, if I could get this map to load, that would be great.
So Greyhawk was low on manpower for whatever reason, like,
Right.
I don't know. Lots of folk were out sick, or some folks were, there was like a big pilgrimage going on, whatever reason, there weren't a lot of sword boys in the city.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, that was your reason, is you had sort of a divine pact. And then, so the next question is, so for Soren, you were mostly doing it for money, I assume, like, the smuggling and the probably light mercenary work, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your reason, or was there something else going on there? And this is entirely open, and you don't have to even care about Greyhawk lore. Throw whatever you want at me.
I think that from Soren's perspective, he would not care who the battle was. I think for him, it's just the family business that we've been working in. He just knows his place in it, which I guess it's not to say. I feel like maybe the higher ups in his family might have had some more influence on it. Maybe they're more politically minded or strategic than he is, where he just doesn't see the master plan for why we're supporting one side or another. He just, okay, we need to get the boat here today. That's where we go.
Okay. So he's giving me strong vibes of your normal, like, capo in a mob, where he's just like, hey, boss says do it, so I'm just doing the job that needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, especially since mob family, but it's also his literal family too. It's just like, oh, this is where Dad says we're taking the boat today.
Okay, so for him, this battle wasn't even that big a deal. It was just like another job. Okay. And then, Rayrel, you are, we've gone over this many times now, but you're the longest lived of the group, so this doesn't even seem like it'd be the first battle like Rayrel has seen, like, compared to the other two.
Yeah,
So,
she's probably seen a couple in her time, and I think by this point in her life, she's kind of like she helps out, but she also tries to stay out of it because she's just like it's just gonna happen again in another generation of these humans. Like, who cares?
mhm.
It's like, oh, we just finished the last one 20 years ago. What are we doing?
Mhm. Uh, okay, so why did she throw her lot in then?
Probably money, or it was going to affect where the area she protects, or maybe where her family is living.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
I
like,
like
very direct and personal reasons.
Okay. That actually leads to another question I have about Rayrel.
Hmm.
Is she doesn't seem to be a super huge fan of human culture. So, why does she enjoy living amongst them, and why does she not live amongst her own kind out in the gnarly wood or the Welk wood?
I mean, I think she's okay with humans. She just hates how they bicker all the time. Um, I think she just mostly prefers being out in the woods, but she doesn't particularly enjoy elf culture either, I guess. Like, there's, she's just like, yeah, they're kind of all stuck up. I just kind of want to do my own thing.
Mm-hmm. So she sort of has a very independent streak, whereas elves tend to be very collectively snooty. She is independently, uh, sort of, she's independent minded. She likes her quiet spaces, kind of thing. Yes?
Yes.
Got it. So I'm glad we established a baseline. Um, some general questions I'd like to ask. I just wanted to ask you guys some questions about like narrative stylings and stuff like that. Like, um, so grid-based combat, yes or no, or
Yeah.
or very light grid-based.
I mean, I've done Theater of the Mind, but considering I'm a ranger, I feel like grid-based combat would be very helpful in my case.
Mm-hmm.
I am in agreement with grid-based combat.
I do not have a preference. I'm happy for either. So grid is what I'm used to, so that'll be fine by me.
Okay, because generally I am fairly non-grid, so that might be where I hit some road bumps. Kevin, you've said you've been playing for a very long time, yes?
Absolutely.
And Liz as well. So here's what I'm gonna do, and this may be a bit of a cop-out, is since I'm gonna be running stream, story, and other stuff, would it be okay to have like one of you guys be my defer to rules lawyer? So if I need some information like kind of quickly, like, I ask you guys, so that way I don't have to, pause a whole bunch of other stuff and bring up rule books.
Sure.
I mean, absolutely. And when I ran a game for Encounter Roleplay this last season, that's exactly what I did as well, and it was never a problem.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. Some other questions I have is, do any of you have reference images for your character so
I
that like
do.
when I'm running the stream, I can sort of have a visual cue to kind of refer to you as? Because as it stands now, like, not all of us have cams, not all of us want to. And so I just want to, when I'm streaming, have something I can sort of set up for people to know, like, so people can associate a certain voice with a certain character without having to, set up cams and all that.
Yeah, I've got some character art for Rayrel that I finished, so I can send that over your way.
Okay, excellent.
I'll have my cam up and going when we play, so that'll be an option.
Well, here's the thing: is
Right.
I don't want some of us to have cam and some don't. So it's either we all go in on this, or all three of you go in on it, and then I'll use like, the typical dice with the red eye I have for my image. Because, DM not having a cam like that kind of works because it gives me that kind of voice of a narrator sort of feel. But yeah, so if you folks did cam, I'd want all three of you to go in on it or none. So decide that amongst yourselves.
Unfortunately, I don't have a good webcam, and I don't have a good place to set one up in my work zone, unfortunately.
That's all right. So I think we go with the character images.
Okay.
Okay.
This coffee was really good right up until I saw the little milk chunk. Now I'm like, maybe not. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh, today's gonna be rough intestinally. Cool. Super duper.
Roll high in the Constitution check, you'll be fine.
Yeah. That me, Anelia the human's constitution, not so great though. It's probably a solid 8.
Let's take the elixir of Pepto. It'll give you a +2.
Okay, so yeah, the Greyhawk channel has sort of its Discord, and so that's also what they use for sort of coordinating all the streams that they host. So, one thing is if I have all three of you folks on there, they're going to take requests I make much more seriously. Instead of me just being this DM without a channel, without, with 20 followers on their YouTube page being like, yeah, I'm ready to run a show. I can do it. So, and, it's just a way to get, if we want to influence even other sessions on the channel, like, let's say our hypothetical meteor can then like, even be just like flavor text in another session. Like that'd be cool. Any other questions? Any other lore things you folks want to set up, or any cool ideas you got for me or each other?
I think we got a good groundwork, a good foundation to build off of.
Cool. And like, I want all three of you hopefully to become friends with each other. That way, all connections and all talkings about the session doesn't have to be done through me. Like you can more naturally talk to each other. So I'd ask, I'd recommend exchanging contact info. I'm not going to make any orders or demands, of course, because that would be weird. But it'd make everything flow a bit easier, I think, for you folks and all that.
Yeah.
I want us all to be friends, and I like all of you, Kevin, Liz, Patrick. I wanna hug all of you and give you some of my nasty coffee.
Oh, I'll take the hug, though.
I'll take the hug. Good to not the coffee.
Actually, I've got a pastry sitting upstairs, so that sounds pretty good this morning. Let's see. Yeah, so just throw me a friend thing on Discord, and throw me all your art, all your reference images, anything cool you want to put in.
I think I followed you guys on Twitter. Did you guys get that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And you can just follow you can just give me like a really generic or really like MS Painted piece of art. Like I don't mind, just as long as I have something I can put up.
I do take commissions, by the way.
Yeah.
Why don't we handle that?
No.
Why don't we just handle it now, and I'll hire you to do Drew if you'd like.
Sure thing. I will private message you my information.
Yeah, that's great.
Right. It's Kevin, right? I just want to
Yeah.
make sure I'm sending it to the
Yeah.
right person.
Yeah, Kevin_hit, big bald guy with a microphone in his hand for the page.
Let's see. So I don't know if our first official session is on the 29th or if it's on the 5th. They said I'm getting the, fall block. So, I know I'm getting a large block of time up until I think December, like late December.
Mhm.
And then, after that, I'll just talk to the Greyhawk channel and be like, hey, obviously the people here are awesome, good writing, and hopefully it's going to be popular too. So I can be like, hey, session's going pretty well. Why not renew us? And if not, like, we can honestly just say, fuck it. Just do the sessions amongst ourselves if we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I can basically just put it up on, like, the Bardic Interrogation channel.
Sounds good to me.
Oh yeah, that's a much better idea. Just, Liz, you're brilliant. Just link me your Discords.
Yeah.
That's so much.
Because I think with what's scheduled for us, we start on Thursday the 5th of September, and we run through the 1st of December, right?
Yes.
Yes, that should be it.
And I have adjusted it to my time zone because I have 2 jobs and I need to make sure that time is free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I got full school and full job, so I get that hustle. It's rough.
Yeah. So, yeah, cool. My boss at one of my jobs was like, "Oh, you're available Thursday mornings?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can work Thursday mornings." And then I remembered I volunteered to do this. And I'm like, "Shit, I can't do Thursday mornings."
Okay. Is there any final info you folks want to get out before we call it?
No, I think we have a good foundation because I don't want to oh, we're going to do this, and then the game takes us in a completely different way. I'm very reactive to role play, so I start with a foundation for my characters and see where the game takes me.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, for a young person, I've run a lot of D&D games, so I'm very adaptable. I'll be able to work with whatever you throw at me.
Awesome.
And it looks like we've already got good group cohesion, so I don't worry about, any difficulties of communication or people, not, characters not meshing well or stuff like that. Like, I have no fear of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I will tell you, I mean, look, I play D&D to create friendships, community, and that's really truly why I play, because it's a social game.
It is.
And so that's why I feel blessed that we've got some good people here, and I think we're just gonna have a lot of fun. And look, I'm all for look, if the shit hits the fan and Shane and Bree go, well, I don't know. Well, look, I don't see why we couldn't play just as friends, like you said. All those options are open to me because like I said, I just like to play, and I'm glad we're all here. This should be a lot of fun for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
All right, cool. So yeah, I've got all your Discord, so that's good. Just send any reference materials or anything you'd want me to set up for the initial stream to me, and then give it like a day or two, because I'm probably going to be streaming like later today because I've got the whole day free, and why not? So like, if you can get your reference images to me for the first session at least, we can get better ones as we continue on. But if you can send your initial ones to me, I can set it up and give you a sort of basic idea of what the stream layout's going to look like. Sound good?
Yep.
Sounds great.
Cool. Well, it's been lovely talking with all of you, and I hope you all have a good morning and a good rest of your day.
You too.
All right, guys. Talk soon.
Talk
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.